Right. So let's kind of get into it. I've been trying to think for the majority of my playthrough exactly how I would kind of articulate my thoughts and feelings towards Atomic Heart. And I think another streamer put it best when he said the game's flirting with greatness. You know, it has all these elements from other games kind of pulled. You know, you feel a little Bioshock, of course. Some kind of Fallout in there, maybe a little Prey influences. Definitely some Portal elements. I've felt some kind of Dead Island influence, believe it or not. And there's a lot of the things that the game does great. There's a lot of things that kind of detract from it. On the surface, just overall, I will say the game is fantastic. It is very well put together. The Atom Punk world that they built is just beautiful and fun to explore. A robot apocalypse is really kind of unique, even though it's kind of cliche in the same sense of a zombie apocalypse. But it was well done. I think by far the best system in the game was probably the combat, which is, you know, kind of necessary for an FPS. Power dynamic is really good. The progression system was fantastic. The way you go through the world collecting ingredients to craft everything and upgrade was very good. And overall, that part of the gameplay was very engaging. The music at the same time was also fantastic. It was it kind of felt like Doom in a sense, where, you know, you have this awesome music playing, you got the combat going, it's very arcadey, it just felt good. However, the reason why you say it's kind of flirting with greatness, rather than being a great game on its own, is because of those sort of influences. It's kind of like in the sense of, hey, can I copy your homework? Sure, but don't make it look too obvious. And I think because of that, the game kind of falls short. It still hits the mark, but it could have been so much better. It has some very high highs and then some very low lows. I think probably some of the bigger issues was, first of all, the dialogue. The writing was just weird. It's like you're watching an adult sitcom. It's just very cheesy, kind of raunchy, and the writing is very inconsistent. It didn't know what it wanted to do with itself. Comic relief in games is kind of great, especially ones where it's all catastrophe. But when it's constantly being put forth, it kind of takes away from a little bit, and you stop taking it so seriously, which it has some very, very serious elements and undertones. That part of the game is great, but then you mix it all in with this, there's a lot of fluff. It kind of makes it hard to want to stay engaged in that sense. I think the other thing was you have this grand overworld where you kind of, you can explore this entire island that they built where robots are running around like crazy. And, you can go to different locations and have boss fights and get your upgrades. And that part's kind of fun, at least for a little bit. First of all, you open up a map and it doesn't really do much for you. And really after a while, traversing the map really just kind of becomes a chore. You're less so exploring the world and more so grinding for materials that you need. And you're really it's a tedious world to get from point A to point B. You're wondering later in the game, why is this really here? And with that in mind, the crafting system is as great as it is. It definitely had one of those faults where you had a lot of one component and you constantly fell short of another, so it just kind of reinforced that grind almost, which isn't very fun. The one good thing I will say about the world, though, is that it's one that really rewards exploration. I love games that reward you for exploration, and it does. You search all these buildings, you explore every little nook and cranny, and you naturally get rewarded for it. And the game becomes very engaging even more so. Going back to the power dynamic, because of the exploration, I don't know how it would be without it, but you know, I never felt too overpowered and I never felt too underpowered. It always felt pretty good. I think overall the game was really just janky, you know. Like I said, I think just everything, it had a good foundation. It just needed more. I think throughout my entire playthrough, my favorite part of the game was the first 20 minutes. So kind of let that speak for itself in a way. Do I still recommend it? Absolutely. But those are definitely some things to consider. I think one final note is there are a lot of very heavy political issues that are kind of brought into the game world. And there are a lot of kind of social issues that are brought into the game world. I'm not going to touch on them because spoilers. I'm usually pretty good at separating, you know, the game from the real world, but the way that they bring it in, there were a few things that definitely made me feel a little uneasy. So maybe that's something to consider as well. But I think that being said, that's all I really have to say about Atomic Heart. Still a fantastic game, and if there's ever an Atomic Heart 2, no doubt, if they learn from their mistakes, game of the year. But, yep, that's all I gotta say. Thank you for watching.